Hey, ladies and germs, this is Pete on the Street, and we are back for the 11th season. This is number one of the 11th season. Oh, I need another finger. But listen, I am with my boy here, my man, Joel Real Deal Davis. He is going to sit in for me as my guest host. And I know he's going to kill it. He's going to absolutely kill it, Joel.
Only thing I can guarantee, Pete, is it's going to be action-packed. Thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, and his first guest of two, his first guest is Polish Paul Kozłowski. Now, this guy is funny. He's a funny guy. You're going to love this show.
He's hilarious.
He is. But I have to do a quick shout-out. I met Sue Correa the other day at the Bottle Redemption Center. She said she watches the show. I'm glad somebody does. But I have to bring my empties back there so I can pay my mortgage. And I did see a guy bringing in case after case of Bud Light. But Jesus, they were full. So, hey, listen, I'm going to turn the show over to Joel. Give it hell, my brother.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
That's right.
Greetings and welcome to Pete on the Street. For the next 30 minutes, please join us for a collection of on-location segments and in-studio interviews that'll prove that everyone's got a story. Be sure to tune in for guests bringing important news from our community for everyone from children to seniors. And please join us in saying thank you for your service to our veterans and active duty military and first responders, including police, fire, and EMTs. And join Pete on location throughout Taunton, New England, and around the globe as he checks off destinations from his bucket list. You never know who you'll meet with Pete on the Street. And now you've heard of the POTUS. You've heard of the FLOTUS. Well, here's the POTS. Pete on the Street, your host, Peter Mazzone.
Welcome to Pete on the Street. This is season 11, and I have a very special guest, Polish Smile, Paul Kozłowski. He's also known as Polish Power and also just Polish Paul. He's a comedian out of the state of Rhode Island. He's making a lot of waves in the comedy scene, and was happy to have him here on Pete on the Street. Paul, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Good seeing you, brother.
Yeah, good seeing you.
And anyways, if you don't know, my name's the Real Deal Joel Davis, guest host, and I'm happy to be here. And Paul, you must be excited.
I'm very excited.
Yeah.
I'm very happy to be here.
Yes. And one thing, viewers, just so you know, if Paul's excited or he's happy, you'll never know because he has the same expression on his face. I've known Paul for a while, and he's a great guy, and he's a great entertainer. Paul, question to start off the show here today on Pete on the Street, season 11. When did you debut in stand-up comedy? The date and the year? When did you start your very first show?
It was November of 2022.
November of 2022 was your first set, your first gig.
Yep.
And where was that?
That was at the Knights of Columbus Hall in Warwick, Rhode Island.
The Knights of Columbus Hall in Warwick, Rhode Island. Was that an open mic show? Or was that your
No,
first?
that was basically a graduation. I took a course in stand-up comedy, and that was our graduation thing. So that was my first time in front of a large audience, in my own, writing my own stuff, and basically giving it to the public, and it went over really well.
That's great.
Yeah.
And you enjoy what you do. I know you do.
Oh, I absolutely do.
Yeah. And I take it you came right out of the John Perrotta, Rockin' Joe Hebert, and there was a female comedian. What's her name?
Colleen Galvin.
Colleen Galvin. So they trained you, right? You came out of that
Yes.
training facility,
Yep.
that training
They're
camp.
fantastic people.
Fantastic people, and what they do is they got you ready, and then that was your graduation show, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I've heard of this before, and that's how you started out. And so you were an actor too. When did you debut in acting? How long have you been doing acting?
I've been acting since 2010.
Okay, for a while now.
I started out in TV and movies and stuff, and I've recently started on stage. So I've been doing a lot of stage acting and stuff, so that's kind of fun too.
Yes, yeah, and it kind of goes together, doesn't it? Both.
It does.
It does, yeah.
It does because even in acting, when you're doing live stuff like on stage, you have to improv a lot of stuff sometimes, because if you don't remember your lines or whatever, you have to be able to get around it.
Exactly. That's good stuff, you know, and we're glad to have you. And you know, for myself and Peter and Walt Sabina and everyone here at the TCAM, we thank you for being on the show today. We really do.
Oh, it's totally my pleasure.
And I wanted to ask you just real quick. You were involved in law enforcement for a while, so investigating.
Yes, I was. I was a crime scene investigator, and I retired in 2009 as a crime scene investigator.
Wow, that must have been a tough job to do, a tough career.
It is. It's a tough thing. It can be very sad, can be very devastating. I have seen lots of things that I generally don't tell anybody about, but it's a very interesting thing. It's a very rewarding thing, and it's probably the most interesting job I've ever had in my life, and I would highly recommend it to anybody who's got an interest in science or basically investigating or looking into why things happen the way they do.
Excellent. So you've had a pretty good journey, Paul, in life. You've done
Yes,
quite
I
a
have.
bit already in your life, and that's great. That's great. Yeah, it's that's all good stuff. And it actually comes together because there's some dark days, but you try to bring some comedy to it.
Yeah, this is kind of like the total opposite. You go from really sad things to making people laugh,
Yeah.
which is something that you would never think of as a crime scene investigator. You think of them wearing like these black cloaks and stuff, and not ever smiling, but I do.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, I've seen you smile a few times. You know
Once
what I
or
mean?
twice.
Well, no, your comedy. You know, I've seen you, Paul. I've seen you on stage multiple times. You're coming up to 2 years in the stand-up comedy scene. You've really made some great waves in the last 6-7 months. You really have improved. And I keep it real. I'm the real deal, Joel Davis.
Yep.
I keep it real. There's no BS here when I say that. My question to you now is: this is a big question. Your very best, your most memorable comedy gig set to date, in close to 2 years. What do you remember the most? What is your favorite, your personal favorite?
The Comedy Club in Cranston,
Comedy Park?
Comedy Park,
Okay, okay.
was like a real wake up to me. That was a small club. It's currently closed, but it was a small club, and it was a stand-up thing where I was up on stage. I was called up on stage. Again, I did a lot of my own stuff. I do a lot of impressions. I do things for people to try to make people laugh in a bunch of different ways. And that place was very memorable because it just seemed like being big time, being like on an actual stage, being on someone who's kind of like made it.
Made it to the level of, and if you don't mind, I'm just going to throw this to an actual comedy club.
Yep.
Really, and now so the viewers know that's Cranston, Rhode Island. You're speaking
Yes.
about. That's in the
Yep.
state of Rhode Island.
Yep.
Paul does perform in Taunton, Massachusetts.
Yep.
You did perform at the Taunton District here in Taunton.
I did.
We don't say many names here, but it was Cranston, Rhode Island. So that was good that
Yeah.
I remember that facility. It is shut down now,
Yeah.
but so that was really when you said, hey, listen,
Yeah.
I got something going on, and
Yeah.
it's stand-up comedy is not a thankful position a lot of times.
No.
You know, and I know
Oh,
that.
sure.
It's your thoughts, and this is a big question, Paul. I'm going to ask you right now on Pete on the Street here, right here on cable access television in Taunton, Mass. Here, your thoughts on hecklers, intoxicated hecklers and drunks when they heckle you and yell obscenities to you when you're trying to perform.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts? What do you think the reasoning for this is, and how do you handle it?
Well, it's tough to deal with hecklers, but a lot of times what you do is you can call them out and embarrass them, and make fun of them and that type of stuff, or you can basically ignore them. But if they're yelling and screaming, if it gets to be too obnoxious, it's good if the club will basically escort them out of the building, because we're trying to put on a show for everyone, not just one person. And if they don't like it, or they do like it, or they're intoxicated, the other people aren't going to enjoy it. I'm interested in entertaining lots of people and not just one person. And you know, if he's to a point where he can't control himself or she can't control herself, just get rid of them.
That's a great answer, Paul. It really is. And it's a two-part question for you, Paul. The worst that you've seen in the heckling, because this is a big thing in comedy. I'm a stand-up comedian myself, and I know this can be an issue.
Sure.
Your worst experience so far, and have you seen someone escorted out of the building when you were performing?
I've not seen anybody escorted out of the building. I've called people out if they're heckling and they don't like maybe something I said or whatever. I've called them out, and basically I have the power through my dialogue to shut them up. And the most flagrant one was it was up at the Comedy Connection in East Providence. Someone was just basically just talking out loud and being annoying, and everyone couldn't enjoy them. And I just basically said, Ma, the AA club is up the road.
Okay.
So,
So you basically had to. Unfortunately, you had no choice.
Yeah.
But to belittle them and basically that's what you did. You embarrassed them in front. But you had no choice. And you know, that's too bad that it comes to that. And like you said, if you got 100 people in the audience and you know 99 people are there to you know, see the show, if you can't have one person you know, do this, you know what I mean? You can't you can't have one person just ruin it for everybody.
no.
So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to make a statement, and you're gonna finish it, okay?
Yep.
Jack and Jill went up the hill to
Have some hanky-panky.
Little do you know, but I really love.
Sex.
My most embarrassing moment was when.
My doctor was doing the prostate exam on me and left his ring inside, and he called me up the next day and had an emergency and asked me to come in because he was all out of breath and stuff like that. He said, we have to go do that again, and I'm scared to death. Come to find out, he was pretty much had me assume the position, and 5 seconds later, he's reaching in and he says, oh, I found it. And then he's like, oh, you're all set. Have a good day.
Oh, my Lord, have mercy. I want the viewer to know, this is not rehearsed, folks. This is Paul had no idea what I was going to ask him. This is something new I'm trying, kind of like I start a statement and Paul finishes it. And really, I didn't want to know all that, Paul. To be honest with you. That's definitely too much information. Like
it's
the young
not
folks
easy
say,
being me.
TMI. I mean, geez, wow, you got that must now. Do you have nightmares about this? I mean,
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, so he lost his ring in your anus.
I mean, is it wrong when he started to sing to me, so into you?
I mean, oh wow, that's well. We didn't know it was going to go there. Pete on the Street. You never know. It's season 11. It's action packed. You don't know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? We got now. That's a good question. Now I have that. Bring it up to your comedy and being a stand-up comedian. Do you prefer a Polish smiling, Polish power, or just Polish?
Well, I like Polish power most, but Polish Paul's good, and then Polish Smile is another one that was given to me by a patron one night. I believe you were there that night.
I was there that night.
Yeah, and I thought that was a pretty good name.
Yeah.
And
They're all good names. I mean, but you've been called worse, I'm sure.
oh yeah,
Absolutely.
all my life.
All your life.
Yeah.
I mean, you were called worse when you got here today.
Yep.
So, hey, I got something for you.
Yeah.
It's called the Name Game 10. It's something new that we're bringing to Pete on the Street in season 11. It's called Name Game 10.
Okay.
So I'm going to name 10 different individuals to you, their name. When I name their name, I'd like you to give me a one-word answer, and what comes to your mind. The first thing that comes to your mind, one word describing that person, or one statement describing that person, or a very short story regarding that person that I named. It's called Name Game 10.
Wow.
And here we go.
Okay.
Rockin' Joe Hebert.
Professional.
Okay, you're going to leave it one word, one Rockin' Joe Hebert, professional. By the way, folks, he's a comedian out of Rhode Island. He's been around about 25 to 30 years. He's a great entertainer. He's a great guy, Joe Hebert. Okay, next, Spitfire Annie.
Don't know that person. I hesitate to figure out how she got the name.
Okay,
but,
she's the one that gave you the name Polish Smile.
oh, God bless her then. She's awesome.
God
Love her
bless
to
her,
death.
she's awesome. Okay, very nice lady. Next in line, number 3 on the name game 10, Stephen DiNuccio.
Stephen DiNuccio, funny.
Funny, that's the way, that's it, funny.
Funny.
Good way to describe him. He's a very talented guy. He is funny. Next, Mike Cronin.
Mike Cronin, very talented. Or just talented.
Okay, you're going to give him very, but we're going to bring him down to talented.
Well, you said
he's
one
a man
word.
with the mic. He's a man with the
One word.
One word or a statement or a small story.
Okay.
He's the one that uses the light for John Perrotta.
Yep.
Speaking of John Perrotta.
The best.
Okay.
My hero.
Okay.
He's a good man.
Okay. Joanna Raposa, another comedian out of Rhode Island, female comedian.
Joanna Proposa. Don't recall ever meeting her.
Okay, she's the co-host right now on a local show.
Okay.
Okay, so you don't. So what's your?
I would say she's probably pretty awesome.
Okay, so you're just making that up. Okay,
No,
very
yeah,
good.
but if she wants to have me on her show, she's even more awesome.
Okay, Jim Biggie Smalls.
Jim, pretty Biggie Smalls, personal friend of mine, good guy.
Yep. Got a small story about him because I know you.
I got
came up
lots
with,
of stories
But
about
you came
Jim.
up with Jimmy, right? Jim Smalls came up. You both graduated at
Yeah,
the same time.
yeah.
All right, yeah.
He's a
When I say graduated, came out of the training camp of stand-up comedy, and
Yeah.
then you've been working the circuit together, right?
Yep. Great guy, very dependable, a great friend of mine. We've got to do comedy together. We help each other out. Just totally a good friend.
Excellent, excellent. That's a great. Name Game 10 continues. Johnny Rotten.
Johnny Rotten, very funny, very unique man. I like Johnny Rotten. I see him all the time at different clubs, and we perform together. He's always been wicked nice to me, and I have nothing but nice things to say about Johnny Rotten.
Speaking of Johnny Rotten, in your opinion, do you think his voice is altered? Do you think that's his real voice, or is it just a show, the way he talks with that raspy voice?
I think that's his real voice.
You really do?
I do.
Okay.
Yep.
So he really tricked you.
Yep.
Okay. Dave Perdando.
Oh, he's nice. He's a nice guy. I've worked with him a couple of times. He's a good actor. He's a good comedian, up and coming.
He might be an actor, too. We don't know.
He might be an actor, like myself.
Another good guy. Dave's a good guy. He's a
Yeah,
good
he is.
guy, and he's a classy guy, and
Yep.
he gives it his all.
Yeah, he
like,
does.
Like I believe you and I do. You
Yep,
know, we do
of
give
course.
we give it our all when we're doing
Yep.
stand-up comedy.
Yeah,
Just like
absolutely.
we are today on Pete on the Street,
Yeah.
season 11. Name Game 10, the 10th name, formerly known as Laughing with Larry. Apparently, he's known as Crying with Larry now after his shows got shut down.
I plead the Fifth Amendment on that one.
Okay, very good. All right, so that's the Name Game 10, and we just wanted to get some responses from you, and you had some good answers, and you knew most of the people that were on the Name
Yeah.
Game 10.
Yep.
Where do you see yourself, Paul, in the next year in stand-up comedy and acting?
I'm always moving on. I'm always doing new things. I have a hosting gig coming up in November for one of John Perrotta's clubs. I have a lot of acting gigs right now. I am in 2 plays right now and trying to learn different accents and things like that, or working with the accents. I'm also constantly auditioning for commercials, TV shows, and movies. I've been in quite a few in the past decade or so, I plan to continue that and see what I can get into.
Okay, I'm going to shoot this one at you now. Okay, so that's great answer. And hey Paul, you and I became personal friends, and I wish you
Yep.
the best of luck. I
Of
really
course.
do.
Mm-hmm.
All positive vibes to you. You're
Yep.
a good person, and I've seen you move up. And you're moving up quick. You really
Mm-hmm.
are. There's a show out of Texas. We're not going to mention the show's name, but it's a big show in Texas that gives comedians a chance to become a star. It's a big show. They just sold out Madison Square Garden twice. What they do is they take a bucket, 220, 250 people go in the bucket, and they select about 5 individuals from the bucket. They give them 1 minute uninterrupted of comedy, and then they're judged by a panel of some well-known comedians. If you were given 1 minute right now uninterrupted, give me a 1 minute set right now for the audience.
Okay. Okay, so I have done some performances in the nursing homes and things, and I've come to find out that things change as you get older. And as you get older, when you're younger and you're performing on stage, you have these young ladies throwing their bras and panties with you on stage. And as you get older and you get into like entertaining at nursing homes, they tend to throw Depends at you, and sometimes they are dirty. So that's one of those things you get into. Again, with the doctor stuff, you're visiting doctors. Everything hurts now as you get older. So that's a lot of fun. And I've gotten into a lot of hobbies. I have a ton of hobbies now. One of them is beekeeping. One of my friends was asking me if I smoke my bees, and I say, I've tried, but they won't stay in the paper. I have another hobby that I do that I fix antique clocks, and the technical term for someone who fixes antique clocks is a horologist. So one of my friends was like mystified with that, and he looks at me and he says, "You're a horologist? You mean you study whores?" And I said,
That's your 1 minute. Very good, Paul. Very nice. Very nice. I would say they'd probably, and that's also known as, just for the viewing audience, prostitute also is a proper term for that.
Yeah.
Night girl,
Yep.
red light district,
Yep.
call girl.
Soiled dove.
Very good. Oh, that's great. It really is great. Now, this is a question, just off random question. How do you enjoy the studio here and the Pete on the Street and being, Pete's the man that actually brought you in. I'm just a guest host.
This is fantastic. This is something that I am very impressed with. I am impressed with the studio. I'm impressed with Pete, and I'm, of course, impressed with you as being one of my friends. This is something that I will never forget as long as I live, and I hope everyone enjoys this show, supports this show, and I hope to see all you guys again sometime in the future.
That's an excellent statements because it's plural. We appreciate that. And that's the thing. You're here on the show. You're getting known in this area here because you've been traveling a bit too. And in comedy, we talked about friends. And I, quite honestly, in life in general, it's difficult to really have true friends. Let's be honest. In comedy, a lot of times you meet people and they're just your associates, or you work with them that night. They don't become friends. I mean, I personally been in comedy myself about the same time you have, going on 2 years, November 1st, in comedy, and I could probably count on one hand, not even using my thumb, how many friends that I have. I mean, I've helped out quite a few people in comedy myself, as you know. Try to give them breaks and try to give them opportunities and introduce them to people. And once they get those opportunities, have you notice when you help someone up, then they just totally forget who you are? I mean, is that a friend?
No.
No.
Friends is someone that's going to be there for you and you're there for them. It's a two-way street. It's not take. It's give and take, and that's the way it should be.
Yeah, and entertainment itself, it's a tough business, and everyone's trying to move up, but you don't need to cut the next guy down to make it up the ladder.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I just wanted to mention that quick, that if you help somebody out in life in general, folks, if you help somebody out, just keep on helping people out, because there are a lot of good people out there. The good always will beat the evil. There's more good people than bad people in this world. And in comedy, like Paul said, Paul and I became friends, but we don't have many friends in comedy, I don't think. I don't. Maybe you do. I mean, I don't. I mean, I don't have many friends in general. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, I know, and I know on this show we keep it clean. So I've actually substituted some words. If I got angry today, instead of yelling the F word, I would yell fudge.
Yep.
And then, like today, when I was driving up here today, I was saying that these people that were driving like they had their head up there, and I substituted it. I said they have their head up there, kazoo. So let's try to use those kind of words, the kazoo. I have something, another segment here that we're going to be using on Pete on the Street in season 11. Well, this show, anyways, and
Yep.
the next episode. It's called Pete on the Street Retreat.
Okay.
And this is a tribute to my good friend, Pete Mozone. And a matter of fact, before I get to that real quick, I need to share a funny story that Walter, Sabina, the great camera and production and director of the show, will enjoy. And I know Peter will, and Peter hasn't heard this yet. I want to bring this story up. Peter worked a stand-up comedy gig at Federal Hill with Steve DiNuccio doing an open mic. Him and I traveled together, right? And I sent over the name to Steve DiNuccio for Peter, and I had his name in my phone as Pete Malzone. And his name is Pete Mozone. So when I spoke to Pete, when I was talking to him about this not too long ago, I said, Pete, I says, you were on the schedule. He says, yeah. He says, somebody had me down as Pete Malzone. Pete, I confess that was me. I gave the wrong name to Steve DiNuccio. Pete on the Street Retreat.
He's doing a hell of a job here.
Oh, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's doing a hell of a job.
Pete on the Street Retreat. Can I ask him a question?
I want to be in for the last 5.
Okay, all right, Pete. Pete on the Street Retreat. This is your time now, Paul. Pete on the Street Retreat. Tell the audience right now, when you were in a situation in stand-up comedy that you had to retreat, you had to get out of there as quick as possible.
Oh, basically what it is sometimes you get overwhelmed, or maybe you had lined up a bunch of jokes and things like that, and you forget, and you don't know where you are, and you lose your track of thought, and it gets to be a point where you're have to work on your improv stuff, and you come up with the last minute tap dance, and then you try to escape before somebody realizes that you forgot everything, and then you can get out the door.
So you're basically saying you're in a process of bombing on stage. I call it bombing.
You're gonna bomb, yeah.
Versus crushing in stand-up comedy,
Yep.
the terms. So you're bombing. So you want to on the Pete on the Street Retreat. Don't say that 10 times fast. Pete on the Street Retreat. Your answer to that question today in this show is basically you when you're bombing, you just want to get out of that venue. You don't want no one to see you. And you want to be gone, right?
Oh, yeah.
Retreat.
Oh,
right?
absolutely. You want to get out of there before
So
someone
can
realizes you messed up.
Well, the question was, can you tell us real quickly, as we come down to the end of this episode, what exactly or when this was? Or is this isn't
Well,
every gig? I mean,
It's personally, to be honest, it's personally never happened to me.
All right.
good answer. So you didn't answer my question.
Just in theory.
He
Yeah.
didn't answer the question, Pete. The question is, when did you have to retreat? Sometime in comedy. There had to be one time you had to get out of the building. Was it a drunk woman chasing you?
Or in personal life.
Was
I
an
wish.
intoxicated woman chasing you?
I wish.
Okay, so was there a man chasing you? I mean, what was happening?
It's a new world.
It's a new world.
Yeah, it's a new world.
You've never had to get out of the building in 2 years. You've never had to leave.
No, my audiences just love me. They think I'm really good at what I do. So
Okay.
they
You're so
enjoy my
modest.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am
so-
modest.
Yeah.
I never lie.
St. Paul. I never thought I'd meet St. Paul.
Yep.
Polish Paul.
Polish power.
You know, you were a great guest. You really
Yes,
were.
yeah,
We're
this
happy
is
to
great.
have you, Pete. Thanks again for the
Yes.
opportunity.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really
These
appreciate
two
it.
shows, with the 11th season, and we've got more shows coming up. We've got trips to Norway, Sweden, Denmark. We've got a report about, I can't remember her name. I missed
Report about somebody.
Jenny Wade, the only civilian killed at the Battle of Gettysburg. When we get into some history segments, we've got a great season coming up for
We
you.
do, and you know, and we do. And I just wanted to let everyone know. Paul asked me before he came on the show. He's never been on a television show like this before.
Okay.
He asked me. He says, Joel. He said, "Can you give me a hint on what you and Pete would be doing on the show?
Right.
What are we doing?" And I said, "Let me give you a hint." I said, "We'll be asking you questions."
Right.
Pete, what a great show.
yeah,
you anything you got to
and,
say to the man before he goes?
Hey, I really enjoyed meeting you. We swapped some stories before the camera started running. We can't share them all, but I got a good laugh out of them, and I loved your. You know, the only thing I can say is that it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yep.
5 o'clock somewhere.
Polish power.
So Polish
Absolutely.
power. So we're done.
That's
and
Zdrowie.
Walter's going to fade us out. And thank you, Joel.
Thank you, Pete.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. Nice
And
to meet you.
thank you, Paul.
Yeah, my
hey,
pleasure.
everybody, thank you for watching Pete on the Street.
Thank you for watching Pete on the Street. This program is produced by Peter G. Pete on the Street Mazzone, who is solely responsible for its content. Views and opinions expressed on the show are solely those of Mr. Mazzone and his guests and do not reflect the views and opinions of TCAM TV, its management, or directors. Your comments about the show are welcome, or if you have an interesting story and would like to be considered for a future show, please reach out to Pete at peter.mazzone@verizon.net or like us at facebook.com/pgmazzone. Production coordinator is Walter Sabina. I'm Alicia Koulis, director of Pete on the Street. Thanks to TCAM TV and our guests for making this show possible.